Hi, Dyslexic Genius here, Brad Hurt. I'm back on the Edison Triumph and I'm working on the chassis, and this is the pre-work on the chassis before we assemble the gear train and the governor and the spring barrels and so on. So what I have done is I've cleaned it, but on Edison's, the silver paint is notoriously terrible and it wears off. And you can see here from the bearings where the oil has just washed off the silver paint, and this happens. So what I've done is all these bearing areas, I flex tone those out for easier assembly, so when we adjust the gear train, we can move the bearings and everything around a lot easier. The first thing I did was I took the spindle shaft that goes through the spring barrels, and when you pull them apart, you can rub your hand on here and you can feel the wear. I've polished about 3/4 of it out, but I wanted to show you this wear here and how it's supposed to be oiled. Edison puts an oiling hole on this gear. Roll around, there's an oiling hole here, and then he has that little oiling hole. There's no way that that oiling hole and this oiling hole is going to get through the center arbor, and this one's going to get through the center arbor of the two springs on this barrel. It has 3 springs, but no way is it going to happen. So what I do is I'll coat it with STP, and it's not going to run away at all. And it'll stay in there, and that'll make the spring barrel, when you polish the shaft and flex on the inside of these arbors, that'll make the springs run around a lot smoother. They won't be grabbing on the little burrs that have created from wear and no oil. It also happens on the winding crank mechanism. This bearing here, the winding crank goes in this one and this one over here. And there, if my angel can focus in, if you look in here, you can see the wear marks from non-oiling. So I've flex toned these out. In this, I've polished out the wear marks. So on a reassembly, I will assemble it like this, and then I will pull it back a little, and I will add STP here, and then STP over here, and I'll also coat the inside of it also on assembly, and then bring it in so it will spin freely. The winding crank paw, the little half moon thingy that connects to the gear to stop it when you crank up, this hole I had to knock the shaft out because it was kind of worn and bent, and I flex toned that for easier assembly. That's why I flex toned, plus it helps the running surfaces. The speed control, this is the speed control piece that fits in this hole here. I flex toned this out just for easier assembly, and then I will polish this out. But there's a hole here when you assemble it, and I'll explain this in a moment. But on assembly, you want to put a little bit of sewing machine oil here, just so it doesn't rust down the road, and a little easier to adjust the speed, the on-off. So we'll go here, and that assembles. And then you will have a little washer, and you have this little hole, and then there is a tiny tapered pin that goes into this hole. And you have to remember that we have a little tiny tapered pin. I've found nails and everything else holding Triumphs together on these. You know, this is a lot of fun, and this is how you make a Triumph motor run a lot smoother, a lot quieter, and run a lot longer. And that's my tip for the day.